The blue BMW flew past her so close she could feel the wind. Mud water exploded from the puddle like a dirty bomb, drenching her from head to toe. Emma stood there frozen, 6 months pregnant, holding grocery bags covered in filth. Through the car window, she could see them laughing. Her husband, Marcus, and his girlfriend, Tasha, heads thrown back, mouths open wide, enjoying the show they'd just created. The BMW didn't even slow down. They just kept driving, kept laughing, left her standing there in her pink dress that used to be clean, trying not to cry. Emma touched her belly, whispered to her baby, "It's okay, sweetheart. Mama's okay." But she wasn't okay. She was 7 months into a nightmare marriage, 6 months pregnant with a man's child while he publicly humiliated her with another woman. What Marcus didn't know, what nobody knew, was that the woman he'd just covered in mud owned more money than he'd see in 10 lifetimes. And his time pretending she was nothing? That time just ran out. Hello friends, welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Miami, Tokyo, maybe Lagos or Dubai. We want to know. Let me take you back to understand how Emma ended up standing on that dirt road, pregnant and humiliated, while the man she'd married laughed at her pain. 28 years earlier, in the suburbs of Connecticut, a baby girl was born to Richard and Catherine Monroe. The Monroe family owned Monroe Industries, a global empire worth $15 billion. Hotels, technology, real estate, shipping. The Monroe name meant power, meant wealth, meant everything money could buy. But Richard and Catherine had watched too many rich kids destroy themselves. They'd seen wealth corrupt, seen money turn people rotten. So they made a decision. Their daughter Emma would be raised differently. "We're not telling her about the money," Catherine said when Emma was just a baby. "Not until she's old enough to understand what it means, what it does to people." Richard agreed. "She needs to know who she is without money first. Then she can handle having it." So Emma grew up in a modest house in a normal neighborhood. Her parents dressed simply, drove regular cars, and sent her to public school. They worked regular jobs as their cover. Richard pretended to be a middle manager at a tech company. Catherine pretended to be a part-time consultant. But every night, after Emma went to bed, they managed their empire through encrypted laptops and secure phone calls. They built their billions while their daughter thought they were just regular parents struggling to pay bills. Emma was a sweet kid. Quiet, kind, always helping others. She volunteered at soup kitchens, tutored struggling students, worked part-time jobs to save for college, even though her parents could have bought the entire university. "I'm proud of you, baby girl," Catherine would tell her. "You're learning what money can't buy. Character, compassion, humility." "When do we tell her?" Richard would ask late at night. "On her 30th birthday," Catherine said. "That's when she inherits full control anyway. Let her live a real life until then. Let her find love for who she is, not what she has." Emma turned 25 and met Marcus at a coffee shop. He was 28, handsome, and working as a sales representative at a car dealership. He had an easy smile and smooth words that made her feel special. "You're different from other girls," Marcus said on their second date. "You're real. You're humble. You don't need fancy things to be happy." Emma had smiled, thinking she'd found someone genuine. Someone who loved her for herself. They dated for 8 months. Marcus complained about money sometimes, talked about how hard it was to get ahead, but Emma didn't mind. She was used to living simply. Her parents had taught her that love mattered more than luxury. When Marcus proposed, Emma's mother pulled her aside. "Are you sure about this?" "I love him, Mom." "Love is important," Catherine said carefully. "But character is more important. Has he shown you his true character? Do you really know who he is?" "He's good to me," Emma insisted. "He makes me happy." Catherine wanted to tell her the truth right then. Wanted to say, "You're worth $15 billion. Let's see if he still wants to marry you when he knows." But she'd made a promise. Emma wouldn't know until 30. "Just be careful, sweetheart," was all Catherine said. The wedding was small. Just family and a few friends. Emma wore a simple dress from a department store. Marcus wore a rented suit. Emma's parents wrote them a check for $5,000 as a wedding gift. Marcus had been hoping for more. "That's it," he'd said when Emma showed him the check. "Your parents couldn't spare more than $5,000? They don't have more," Emma said. "You know they're not wealthy." Marcus had smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, I know." 3 months into the marriage, Emma got pregnant. She was thrilled. Marcus seemed happy too at first. But then the complaints started. "A baby is expensive," he'd say. How are we going to afford this on my salary? I can work until I deliver, Emma offered. She was working as a teacher's aide, making just enough to help with bills. That's barely anything, Marcus snapped. We need real money. Emma noticed other changes, too. Marcus stayed out late more often, came home smelling like perfume. His phone was always face down, always locked. When she asked about it, he'd accuse her of being paranoid. You're pregnant and emotional, he'd tell her. You're seeing problems that don't exist. But Emma wasn't paranoid. She was right. 4 months into her pregnancy, Emma saw Marcus at a restaurant with another woman. A beautiful woman with designer clothes and perfect makeup. They were holding hands across the table, laughing, looking at each other like lovers. Emma had walked in to pick up a takeout order. She'd frozen in the doorway, watching her husband kiss another woman. Marcus had seen her. Their eyes met across the restaurant. And instead of looking guilty, instead of looking ashamed, Marcus had smiled. A cold, cruel smile. Then he'd turned back to his date like Emma didn't exist. Emma had left without her food. Gone home. Cried herself to sleep in their bedroom while Marcus stayed out all night. He'd come home the next morning acting like nothing happened. Where's breakfast? He'd asked. I saw you, Emma said quietly. At the restaurant. With her. Marcus had shrugged. Yeah. So what? So what? Marcus, you're my husband. I'm carrying your baby. And you're boring, Marcus said, his voice cold and flat. You're poor, you're pregnant, you're no fun anymore. Tasha is excited. She has money. She has a life. You're just dead weight I'm stuck with. Emma's hand had gone to her belly protectively. If you want a divorce. I can't divorce you yet, Marcus interrupted. You're pregnant with my kid. That looks bad. Makes me look like a deadbeat. So we're staying married until the baby is born. Then we'll talk. Why are you doing this? Because I thought you were better than this, Marcus said, his voice full of disgust. I thought your parents were just pretending to be poor. I thought they had money hidden somewhere. But they really are broke, aren't they? And that means you're worthless to me. Emma had realized in that moment what Marcus really was. A gold digger. A man who'd married her, hoping for money that didn't exist. And now that he knew she had nothing, he didn't even bother pretending to love her. Over the next 3 months, Marcus made Emma's life hell. He brought Tasha to their apartment, let her sleep in their bed while Emma slept on the couch, her pregnant belly making it hard to get comfortable. Tasha would walk around the apartment in designer clothes, talking on her expensive phone, treating Emma like a servant. Marcus, tell your wife to make us breakfast, Tasha would say. And Marcus would look at Emma with cold eyes. You heard her. Emma would make them food, clean up after them, and try to keep the peace. She told herself it was for the baby. Just a few more months, and she could leave. She'd saved some money from her teaching job. It wasn't much, but it would be enough to get a small apartment somewhere. Her parents called every week. How are you, sweetheart? How's the baby? Everything's fine, Emma would lie. She didn't want them to worry. Didn't want them to know how bad things had gotten. Catherine knew her daughter was lying. A mother always knows. But she also knew Emma was strong. Knew she could handle this. And in 6 more months, when Emma turned 30, everything would change. The day Marcus splashed mud water on Emma was her lowest point. She'd been walking back from the grocery store, 7 months pregnant, carrying bags because Marcus had taken their only car. He said he needed it to pick up Tasha from the airport. She was coming back from a vacation in Cabo that Marcus had paid for with their rent money. Emma had been trying to get home before dark, walking along the dirt road that was a shortcut to their apartment. She'd seen the blue BMW coming, had stepped to the side to let it pass. But instead of passing normally, the car had swerved toward the huge puddle right next to her. Marcus had floored it. The puddle had exploded. And Emma had been left standing there, covered in mud, hearing their laughter echo as they drove away. She'd walked the rest of the way home slowly, crying, feeling the baby kick inside her like it knew its mother was hurting. When she got to the apartment, Marcus and Tasha were already there, laughing about it. You should have seen your face, Marcus said, pulling out his phone. Tasha got it on video. We're putting it on social media. Marcus, please, Emma begged. I'm your wife. I'm pregnant with your child. You're nothing, Marcus said. You're broke, you're pathetic, and you're in my way. The only reason I haven't kicked you out yet is that it would make me look bad. But the second that baby is born, you're gone. Emma had gone to the bathroom, locked the door, and called her mother. Mom, she'd whispered, trying not to cry. I need to come home. What happened? Catherine's voice was sharp with concern. Emma told her everything. The affair, the humiliation, the mud water incident. When she finished, there was a long silence. Emma, Catherine said carefully, there's something your father and I need to tell you. Something we should have told you a long time ago. What is it? Not over the phone. Can you come to Connecticut? Tomorrow? Mom, I don't have money for a plane ticket. I'll send a car, Catherine interrupted. It'll be there in 2 hours. Pack a bag. You're not going back to that apartment. But Marcus is about to learn a very expensive lesson about who he married, Catherine said, her voice cold as ice. Pack your bag, baby girl. Your real life is about to begin. 2 hours later, a black Mercedes pulled up outside the apartment. The driver, a professional in a suit, helped Emma with her small suitcase. Marcus had watched from the window, confused. Where are you going? He'd called out. Home, Emma had said simply. You don't have anywhere else to go, Marcus laughed. You'll be back tomorrow, begging. Emma had gotten in the car and never looked back. The drive to Connecticut took 5 hours. Emma slept most of the way, exhausted from months of stress. When she woke up, they were pulling up to a house. But not the modest house Emma had grown up in. A mansion, 20,000 square feet of marble and glass. Security gates. Fountains. A circular driveway with 4 luxury cars parked in front. There must be a mistake, Emma told the driver. No mistake, Miss Monroe. You're home. Emma's parents were waiting at the front door. Both of them looked different somehow. More polished, more powerful. They were wearing clothes Emma had never seen before. Designer labels. Real jewelry. Mom. Dad. What's going on? Catherine took her daughter's hands. Come inside, sweetheart. We have a lot to tell you. They sat in a living room bigger than Emma's entire apartment. Richard poured tea from a silver service. Catherine sat next to Emma on a sofa that cost more than a car. We haven't been honest with you, Catherine began. About who we are. About who you are. I don't understand. Richard pulled out a tablet and showed Emma the screen. It displayed a financial statement. The numbers were so large Emma thought it must be a mistake. This is Monroe Industries, Richard said. The company your great-great-grandfather started in 1889. It's now worth approximately $15 billion. And it's yours. Emma stared at the screen. That's not possible. It's not only possible, but it's also true, Catherine said. You're the sole heir to the Monroe fortune. You always have been. We just didn't tell you. Why? Because we wanted you to grow up real, Richard explained. We wanted you to know who you were without money. We wanted you to find love for the right reasons. We were going to tell you on your 30th birthday, when you officially inherit full control. But given your current situation, he glanced at Emma's pregnant belly, at the mud stains still visible on her dress. We decided it was time. Emma's hands were shaking. I'm a billionaire? You're more than that, Catherine said softly. You're our daughter. You're strong, you're kind, you have a good heart. The money doesn't change who you are. It just gives you tools to be that person on a larger scale. Does Marcus know? Marcus knows nothing, Richard said, his voice hard. And he's about to find out exactly what he threw away. Over the next 3 days, Emma learned everything. How the modest house had been a cover. How her parents had been managing a global empire from encrypted laptops. How every job they'd had was fake, a performance to keep Emma grounded. We have properties in 47 countries, Catherine explained. We own the largest hotel chain in Asia. We have tech investments that built Silicon Valley. And it's all yours. Emma's head was spinning. What do I do with all this? Whatever you want, Richard said. But first, we deal with Marcus. I don't want revenge, Emma said quietly. I just want to move on. Raise my baby in peace. This isn't about revenge, Catherine said. This is about justice. That man humiliated you, publicly mocked you, and posted that video of you covered in mud for the world to see. He made you feel worthless when you're worth billions. He needs to understand what he's done. How? Richard smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. There's a luxury car expo next weekend in the city. Marcus will be there. He works for Premium Motors, trying to sell BMWs to rich people. We're going to attend that expo. And we're going to let him see who his wife really is. Emma touched her belly. I'm scared. Don't be, Catherine said, taking her hand. You're a Monroe. Fear is for people who have something to lose. You have everything to gain. The luxury car expo was held at the city's biggest convention center. Over 10,000 people attended. Wealthy buyers, car enthusiasts, and dealers are all fighting for sales and commissions. Marcus was working the Premium Motors booth, wearing his best suit, his smile plastered on, trying to close deals that would earn him commission. Tasha was there too, hanging on his arm, wearing a designer dress that Marcus had bought her with Emma's grocery money. They looked happy, powerful, like they belonged there. What they didn't know was that 3 of the biggest buyers at that expo were Monroe Industries executives. They're on Catherine's orders. Emma arrived an hour into the event, but she didn't look like the pregnant woman in a mud-stained dress anymore. She wore a custom maternity gown that cost more than Marcus made in a year. Her hair was professionally styled. She wore jewelry that had been in the Monroe family for generations. Diamonds that could buy a house. She walked in flanked by her parents, both of them dressed in power suits worth thousands. Behind them came a security detail, personal assistants, and the Monroe Industries legal team. People turned to stare. Whispers started spreading through the convention center like wildfire. Is that Emma Monroe? The Monroe heiress? Monroe Industries? They're here. Marcus heard the commotion. Turned to see what everyone was looking at. His mouth fell open when he saw Emma. That can't be. He grabbed Tasha's arm. That's my wife. That pregnant woman in the designer gown? That's the broke girl you told me about. I don't understand. Emma walked straight to the Premium Motors booth. Marcus scrambled to compose himself, his salesman's smile sliding into place like a mask. Emma, he said loudly enough for people around them to hear. What are you doing here? Is this some kind of joke? Did you rent that dress? Emma looked at him calmly. Hello, Marcus. Tasha. She nodded at the other woman. Nice to see you both. Listen, if you're here to cause a scene, Marcus started. I'm not here to cause anything, Emma interrupted. I'm here to buy a car. Several cars, actually. For my company. Your company? Marcus laughed, but it sounded nervous now. Other salespeople were gathering, sensing something big was happening. Emma, stop embarrassing yourself. These cars cost more than you make in 10 years. Actually, Catherine said, stepping forward, my daughter's net worth is approximately $15 billion. These cars cost less than she spends on breakfast. The convention center went silent. Everyone within earshot had stopped what they were doing to watch. Marcus's face went pale. What? Richard pulled out his phone and pulled up the Monroe Industries website. The homepage showed a photo of the Monroe family. Richard, Catherine, and Emma are identified as chairman, CEO, and heir apparent. My daughter, Richard said, his voice carrying through the sudden quiet, is Emma Monroe. Sole heir to Monroe Industries. She's been the heir apparent since birth. She's worth more money than everyone in this convention center combined. Marcus was shaking his head. No, that's not possible. Emma's parents are broke. They live in a tiny house. They drive old cars. We lived simply, Catherine said, so our daughter would grow up humble. So she'd understand the value of things money can't buy. Character, integrity, compassion, things you clearly know nothing about. Tasha had already started backing away, trying to distance herself from Marcus. Her face was red with humiliation. You posted a video, Emma said quietly, of me covered in mud. You and Tasha laughed while you splashed me with that puddle. You called me worthless. You said I was nothing. Emma, I didn't know. You didn't know I had money, Emma interrupted. That's what you mean. If you'd known I was rich, you would have treated me differently. But that's exactly why my parents raised me the way they did. So I could see who people really are when they think I have nothing. Marcus was crying now. Actually crying in front of hundreds of people. Emma, please. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Let me make it right. You can't make it right, Emma said. You didn't love me. You never did. You loved the idea of what I might be worth. And when you thought I was poor, you showed me your true character. She turned to the Premium Motors manager, who was watching the whole scene with his mouth open. I understand Marcus works for you? Why, yes, Miss Monroe. Not anymore, Emma said. Monroe Industries owns a 40% stake in Premium Motors' parent company. As of this morning, we're exercising our shareholder rights to remove Marcus from employment. He's fired. The manager nodded quickly. Of course, Miss Monroe. Whatever you say. Marcus grabbed Emma's arm. You can't do this. I have bills. I need this job. You should have thought about that before you humiliated your pregnant wife, Richard said, pulling Marcus's hand off Emma. Security, please escort this man out. 2 security guards appeared and took Marcus by the arms. He was shouting now, crying, begging. Emma, please. I'm sorry. I love you. No, Emma said calmly. You love money. You never loved me. They dragged Marcus out of the convention center. The crowd parted for them like the Red Sea. Tasha had already disappeared, running before anyone could associate her with the disaster. Emma turned to the crowd that had gathered. I'm looking to purchase 50 luxury vehicles for my executive team. Which dealership here would like to earn that commission? Every salesperson in the building raised their hand. Emma smiled. Let's talk business. The story went viral within hours. Billionaire heiress reveals identity after husband splashes her with mud was trending on every platform. The video Marcus had posted of them laughing while Emma stood there pregnant and covered in filth. It became evidence of his cruelty. People found his social media and Tasha's social media, tore them apart in the comments. You humiliated a pregnant billionaire? You're the dumbest man alive. She was carrying your child, and you treated her like trash? You deserve everything you got. Imagine being married to $15 billion and throwing it away because you thought she was poor. Loser. Marcus tried to control the damage. Posted apologies. Claimed he'd been joking. Said the mud splash was an accident. But the video showed him and Tasha laughing. Showed them aiming for the puddle. Showed them celebrating Emma's humiliation. No one believed his excuses. Within a week, Marcus couldn't find work anywhere. He'd been blacklisted from every dealership in the state. Tasha had blocked him on everything, posted on social media that she'd been deceived by a liar, and was shocked by his treatment of his pregnant wife. Marcus lost his apartment, lost his car, lost everything. He moved back in with his mother, a 28-year-old man sleeping in his childhood bedroom, broken. Meanwhile, Emma blossomed. She moved into the Monroe family estate and decorated a nursery that looked like something from a fairy tale. She started working with Monroe Industries, learning the business, preparing to take over. Her baby was born 3 months later. A healthy baby girl with Emma's eyes and her grandmother's smile. Emma named her Catherine, after the mother who'd taught her that money doesn't make you rich, character does. Marcus tried to visit the baby. Showed up at the Monroe estate claiming parental rights. The security team didn't even let him pass the gate. Emma's lawyers filed for full custody, citing abandonment, emotional abuse, and public humiliation. The judge took one look at the evidence, at that viral video, at Marcus's pattern of cruelty, and awarded Emma sole custody. You failed to treat your wife with basic human decency, the judge said. You mocked her, betrayed her, humiliated her while she was pregnant with your child. You've lost the right to be called a father. Marcus was escorted from the courthouse in tears. 1 year after the Mudwater incident, Emma stood in front of a new building in downtown. The sign above the door read Monroe Women's Shelter, a safe place for pregnant women in crisis. A crowd had gathered for the opening ceremony. Media, community leaders, and women who would benefit from the shelter's services. This shelter, Emma said, addressing the crowd, is for women going through what I went through. Women who are pregnant and scared. Women whose partners have abandoned them. Women who think they have nowhere to go. She touched her daughter, Catherine, asleep in a stroller beside her. I was lucky. I had family who could help me. But not every woman does. This shelter will provide housing, medical care, job training, and support. No woman should ever feel as worthless as I felt standing on that dirt road, covered in mud, wondering how I was going to survive. The crowd applauded. Catherine, her mother, stood beside her, proud tears in her eyes. After the ceremony, Emma drove past the spot where Marcus had splashed her. The dirt road had been paved now, turned into a proper street. The puddle was gone. But Emma would never forget standing there, 6 months pregnant, holding grocery bags covered in filth, while her husband laughed. That moment had changed her life. Had forced her to understand what her parents had been trying to teach her all along. Money doesn't define you. Character does. And the people who love you for who you are, not what you have. Those are the people worth keeping. Marcus had failed that test spectacularly. And Emma? She'd learned she was stronger than she ever knew. She pulled out her phone, looked at a text from her mother. Proud of you, baby girl. Dad and I always knew you were special. The money just proved what we already knew. Emma smiled, typed back. Thank you for raising me right. For teaching me what matters. She drove home to the Monroe estate, to her daughter, to her real life. The life she'd been born to but had to earn the right to claim. Behind her, somewhere in a small apartment across town, Marcus sat alone, scrolling through social media, watching Emma's success, understanding too late what he'd thrown away. He'd married a billionaire and treated her like she was worthless. He'd splashed mud on a woman who owned the ground he walked on. He'd laughed at someone who could buy his entire existence with pocket change. And now he had nothing, while Emma had everything. If this story touched you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me, have you ever been underestimated by someone who didn't know your worth? I'll see you in the next one.